This writer strike is on my mind a lot. Solidarity with the writer strike.
And as a proud member of the Guild, I'm very grateful that there's an organization that looks out for the best interests of.
This is off topic, but that is a very, very comfortable looking shirt. Solidarity. This shit's fucking up my pockets real hard, though. I will have y'all know that. And I have all the solidarity in the world. But this shit, it has put a very important project for me on pause. So it has changed my economics in the short term real hard. That's why I might be heavily looking for subs, Patreon subscribers and things, because I got to pivot. Hey, thank you.
Down in negotiations. And
Blurber.
what is it that they could not reach an agreement on? Streaming services have disrupted the entertainment industry. The implementation of AI technology will further disrupt the industry.
And that's one of the real wild things about this, because the WGA and letting people know that they're on strike, they've listed some of what they were asking for and some of the responses from the studios, and it's fucking insane. They're asking the studio for some protections against AI-generated writing being able to take jobs. And the studio's response was something like, we'll just have meetings with you guys about tech advancements. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? This strike is really important. This reminds me of when like physical music media went to streaming and you watched that kind of cultural change happen where like you have one, like an industry like music, which was full of money because people had to spend money per unit to get music. When that changed to people downloading music, it completely disrupted the industry. And ultimately musicians really feel that probably more than most. A lot of the big corporations found ways to continue to make a bunch of money. We watched media meet the increasing capacity of digital media, and digital production, and digital storage. So we watched it happen in music, we're watching it happen in literature. The only reason it really hasn't happened in movies yet is because movie files are too big. Like that's really the only reason. Like if movie files were in megabytes instead of gigabytes, that industry would have been completely disrupted as well. And even though it didn't happen with downloading, we're still kind of seeing it with streaming. We're watching that industry deal with a complete shift in how it makes its money, from people having to buy a ticket every time they want to see a movie, just like they had to buy a CD or buy a tape or buy an album every time they wanted to hear music. Now it's like $10 a month, and that changes the scale of everything. And I feel like where we're getting now, like we kind of watched it happen late last year when everybody suddenly had an AI avatar that was some beautifully rendered illustration of them on top of a mountain casting spells and looking like their highest fantasy self. And you had a bunch of like real illustrators be like, whoa, you all don't understand what that AI's power, what that AI's accessibility to consumers means to us as artists. It puts us out of business. And I think that very quickly raised a lot of awareness, and you saw people kind of stop using those AI avatars. Even though people really liked them, they gained a cultural consciousness about what it meant for those creators. I think what we're seeing now, we're seeing a powerful union. The Writers Guild is a powerful union because writing really is that important in Hollywood. This town like runs on ideas. The producers, the executives, they don't have ideas. All they do is kind of chase each other's tails around. They look at what's working and try to copy success. But the real like lifeblood of Hollywood is idea generation. And I think they're asking for like 3% of it for writers in order to just make it like a living wage, where the studios want to give writers even less. They want to make writers day players rather than salaried workers, even though the entire industry depends on them. And we're watching this very important group of creators, this very important group of craftspeople try to have a real conversation with corporations about the value of their work, along with the rise of artificial intelligence that is being programmed to have the capability of doing similar work. And the corporations aren't even really engaging them on it. And I think this is a very important fight for any creator. And I mean for journalists, for musicians, for visual artists, for any medium that technology can potentially replicate. This is a very important fight.
10 years ago, the WGA says a third of its TV writers worked at the minimum salary. It's now half.
And that's the thing, revenues might be falling, but are CEO salaries falling? Are studio executive salaries falling? The complicated part of this issue is that part of the ways that writers used to be compensated was from revenue that would come from syndication, which is like if you wrote on Family Ties, and Family Ties went from its first run NBC Tuesday night lineup into syndication, where it's showing at 3 o'clock in the afternoon in all these different markets, they get residuals for that. And that was part of the way that they would make a living. Now, in the age of streaming, that second sale for a show, when it does its first run on Netflix or Paramount Plus, that's the only sale there is. Without the syndicated sales, they're saying that there's not a continual revenue that comes back through the system to give to the writers. But it's like, is it fair to ask the writers just to take an L on that? And they still expect the same quality of work. They still expect a 1-hour prestige drama from the best minds imaginable. Like, they want that level of quality, but they're not coming up with ways to make sure they can still compensate for that.
Well, I actually have an answer to that. Take it from the other people involved.
That's right. Take it from the CEOs. Take it from the people who are making 7 figures just for making decisions. Like, they got to share some of that wealth. That's part of why having unions is so important. As organized laborers that understand the value of your labor, you get to negotiate for how big your piece of that pie is. I guess the inevitability would come if there's people outside of the studio system to start generating content that's made that doesn't have to follow the rules. I mean, in some ways, that's kind of the rise of reality television. Like, part of the reason that reality television is it's so ubiquitous is because it's made so differently than regular television that they're able to get around a lot of the unions and make stuff. So, I mean, what Real World started 30-something years ago? People want more than that. I mean, there are people who just want that, but there are also people who want traditional television. Can't.
In terms of the AI stuff, guys, like, half the stuff we watch now is half AI already. So the fact that they're gonna do that is inevitable, right?
Again, I disagree. That's why people strike. Like, you could have been a textiles worker in 1889, have a 13-hour work day, and then previously been a 12-hour work day, and some guy could be like, it's inevitable, they're gonna go to 15, but that's why you have a union. That's why you put labor together. That's why you organize around the value of the labor so that you can make rules about what can and can't happen.
Possibly.
Thanks for the follows, y'all. I appreciate them subs, man. The writer strike got my pockets fucked up, even though I'm very pro-strike, very pro-union, very pro-labor organizing. In this very instance, even though it's fucking with my pockets, the truth of the matter is fucking with my pockets. So, really appreciate any support y'all are giving with subs and Patreon follows. And again, the video on demands for all of my streams go on my Patreon, patreon.com/openmikeagle. Solidarity with the writer strike.